A Distressed Cat by Damon Yeargain. He was pathetic, a psycho, an antisocial loser. He didn't think these things so much as they flashed through his mind as he rode the stationary bike in his living room. They were like tiny pricks of pain, barely detectable except through their cumulative effect. The living room where he rode sat lower than the surrounding rooms. Shelves with glass doors marked the boundary between the living room and the kitchen. White trim framed the shelves, complementing the light-colored hardwood floors. Barbells, exercise blocks, and bands lined the shelves, neatly arranged by purpose and weight. It was weird, he knew, to turn a living room into a workout room, but it had the perfect amount of space, and the TV was there too. Besides, who would notice? No one ever visited, and he kept the curtains closed so no one could see the strange man who worked out in the wrong room. His feet pumped the bike pedals as sweat poured off his body. Sophia occupied his thoughts. She lived 2 doors down from him. He adjusted his schedule so that they would leave for work around the same time. One day he even got the courage to say hi, or maybe she said it first. Either way, it became a routine and eventually progressed to actual conversations. Like everything else in his virtually non-existent social life, though, he was destined to screw it up. Just after getting home from work one day, he heard distressed meowing. The cry was intermittent, and it took him a while to locate the source. It came from Sophia's yard. Her tabby was stuck in a hole in the fence. He rushed over to help, but the striped feline panicked and scratched him as he tried to set it free. Realizing it would be easier from the other side of the fence, he hopped over without hesitation. The hole in the fence consisted of broken wood between adjacent boards, big enough for the cat's head but not its body. The jagged edges made maneuvering tricky. He cut his hands and ripped off part of a fingernail in his attempt to widen the gap without hurting the cat. Finally, he managed to make the hole large enough for the cat to slip through. Once free, the cat bolted, not towards the street, thankfully, but hid under some bushes in the front yard. Feeling good about himself, he hopped back over the fence. And that's when the trouble began. As his feet touched down, Sophia's car pulled up. She rolled down the window and shouted, "What are you doing in my backyard?" He wanted to tell her he'd just rescued her cat, but the words got caught in his throat. Instead, he hurried back to his house. "Hey, where are you going?" Sophia asked. When he got to his front door, he heard, "I'll call the cops." He pedaled harder. It had been 3 weeks. The tabby had perched on the ledge outside his bedroom window several times since then, so he knew the cat was perfectly fine. Thankfully, Sophia hadn't called the police, and he managed to avoid her by leaving for work an hour earlier. Unfortunately, that meant arriving at the office a full 2 hours before anyone else. He looked around the room. Why couldn't he be normal? Why couldn't he just say that he had freed her cat? He pedaled even harder, frustration fueling every stroke. There was a knock at the door. It surprised him because other than the mailman, UPS, or Amazon deliveries, no one ever came to his house. It wasn't Christmas or his birthday, when his mom would send him a gift, and he didn't remember ordering anything. Then again, Amazon made it so easy he didn't always remember what orders he'd placed. He walked to the door and peeked through the peephole. The flowing black hair instantly caught his attention. Sophia! Damn, he thought he was in the clear, but she was probably here to finish the castigation. The stationary bike's fan, which was starting to fail, emitted a sound a bit like a percussion instrument. It had a rhythm to it, and he counted the beats as he stood. Sh-shomp 1, sh-shomp 2, sh-shomp 3. If he just stood still and focused on the beats, would she go away? Another knock. He reached for the handle. His hand hovered over it. Sh-shomp, sh-shomp. The fan seemed to match his elevated heart rate. "Ah, to hell with it," he muttered, and turned the handle. "Hi," she said when the door opened. Hi," he responded, bracing himself for the reprimand to come. But she smiled. She glanced down at a pink box she held in her hand. "I brought you something. An olive branch." She extended it towards him. "It's a cake," she said as he took it. He didn't respond. I wanted to apologize." She ran her fingers through her hair. "Do you know Sally? She's a neighbor across the street. She saw you that day." Sophia paused and looked back towards her house. That day I yelled at you." She reached her hand towards him but stopped short. "She told me what really happened. You saved Whiskers." "I'm sorry," she said. "I overreacted." It suddenly dawned on him that he was holding a cake given to him by an attractive woman who was standing in his doorway. For once in his life, he had an answer to the question that forever haunted him. What would normal people do? He invited her in. She followed him into the kitchen, and he set the cake down on the table. It sat there for a few awkward moments before it occurred to him to get some plates. He fumbled with the drawers and cupboards. Out of the corner of his eye, he thought he saw her chuckle. What he couldn't see was that it was a pleased laugh, not directed at his awkwardness. As they both took bites of the cake, he became self-conscious of his sweat-drenched shirt. "Oh, sorry, I was working out." "I couldn't tell," she smirked. "My living room is my biggest room, so I made it my workout room. A little weird, huh?" "It works. Almost living room, workout room fusion. Very feng shui." They laughed. They laughed a lot over the ensuing minutes. She did most of the talking. She talked about her cat and about her job. He interjected questions here and there. She talked easily, gaily. He felt comfortable when she talked, as long as she talked. Inevitably, she ran out of things to say. She glanced at her watch. Here it comes, he thought. He walked her to the door with that sinking feeling. Say something, you idiot. Something pithy, something smooth. But no words came. There was a pause. She had an expectant look on her face, yet he had that feeling he always had in such moments, like his feet were made of marble. He couldn't move, couldn't feel anything. She smiled and touched his arm. He realized he was smiling too. "You're a sweet, sweet man," she said softly as she leaned towards him. It wasn't until it started to slip from his hands that he realized he'd carried the cake to the door with him. His attempt to recover caused the box to flip in midair. The lid popped open and the cake landed on the floor with a splat. Pink strawberry filling splattered everywhere, including Sophia's pants and shirt. He expected her to storm off. Instead, she laughed, grabbed a glob of frosting off her arm, and playfully attempted to smear it on his face. He opened his mouth and caught her finger. She smiled, and then slowly pulled her finger out, gliding it across his lips as she did. The taste of strawberries lingered. He hesitated, unsure what to do next. Then, to the voice in his head, he said, "Shut up. I don't care what normal people do." Then he leaned in and kissed her.